First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I want to make a quick video. I'm going into how everything in the scriptures, right, all comes together, right? And so specifically what I wanted to talk about today was the fact that the four major empires that ruled the earth, being the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans, was all prophesied, right? So getting straight to it, the first place where we see this is in Daniel, the 12th chapter, right? In Daniel, he lived in the Babylonian captivity. He lived in the Babylonian Empire, which that was roughly, when was Daniel alive? 623 BC. Okay, so 2,600 years ago. And something crazy a lot of people don't understand is that we haven't been around for too long, right? We haven't been around for too long. I think humanity, when you go into the history, we've only been on Earth for like 5,000 years. Right? The creation of pretty much the first people was like 5,000 years ago, 3,000 BC. So when you read 600 BC, that's like it literally wasn't that too long ago. So Daniel was it says Daniel was likely born in 623 BC during the reign of Josiah, the last righteous king of Judah. In 605 BC, Nebuchadnezzar the Assyrian took Daniel and many other Israelites captive after attacking and overrunning Jerusalem. The book of Daniel was likely written about 530 BC while Daniel was living in Babylon. Okay, so during his time in Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, he had a dream, right? He had a dream that he wasn't able to break it down, right? He had all of his mages, okay, his wizards, his wise men, and they weren't able to break it down. But Daniel, lo and behold, came, and that's exactly what he did. So verse 31, it says, the king's dream. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Okay, and this was what Nebuchadnezzar saw. Right? In his dream, he actually saw an image, okay, of a statue. Okay, and when you search it up, this is what he saw. Okay, a man with the golden head, silver breastplate, bronze abdominal. Then it keeps going down to part clay and part iron, right? And all of that was symbolic for kingdoms that were going to rule the earth, right? When you go into the breakdown, it says the interpretation. The first one being the top was Babylon, okay, which was the kingdom he was in. The second one was the Medo-Persians. The third one was the Greeks. And the fourth one was the Romans, which right now we're still in the Roman Empire, right? America is the reborn empire. That's why they they do everything the same way, right? You look at the Senate House that comes from the Romans, right? To prove that, you can go to in the Apocrypha. First Maccabees chapter 8 and verse 15, and I'm pretty sure this was during the time of the Greeks and the Romans, the Greco-Roman Empire. And it says in verse 15, moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting a way for the people, to the end they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there were neither envy nor emulation among them. right? And what they're talking about here is what we see today, right? The whole thing about all these people, right? The Democrats or Republicans getting together, okay, and voting for one man president. That goes back to the ancient Greeks and Romans, right? The difference is back then they were called a Caesars, right? Back then, instead of a Republican and Democrat, it was called plebeians, right? It was plebeians and um the plebeians and the patricians. That was the difference. So it's the same thing nowadays, just with different words. So patricians, the wealthy upper class who held most of the power in Rome, they were often members of the Senate and held most important government positions such as the councils. Patricians were only allowed to marry other patricians. Only males could vote. The lower class or commoners who had limited rights, they were originally excluded from the Senate and most public offices except for military tribune. Plebeians were also forbidden to marry patricians until the Lex Canulia was passed in 445 BCE. Right, so in other words, it would be your upper class, right? You're rich, and then you're poor. And like what I was saying, when you look at the government system, right? What do the Democrats do? They mainly abide to the so-called poor people, not so-called, the real poor people, right? Which would be you so-called Latinos, Negroes, Native Americans, Israelites, okay, and those just and these barrios, right? And these hoods. That's who the Democrats. That's who the majority of votes in the Democratic Party are from. So going back to Daniel chapter 2, right? Right now we're in the Roman Empire, the last end of the Roman Empire, right now. Okay. And after the Roman Empire, we have the divine kingdom, which is the Israelites ruling forever. Okay, and that soon is going to come. It says, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." Right? And this hasn't happened yet. Okay, and this goes to show that salvation is not for everybody. It says that this kingdom shall not be left to other people. Okay, because the other nations, they had their chance of ruling the earth. Right? And this coming kingdom is going to be the Israelites ruling only. We are going to be the higher power. Okay, the kings, the rulers, the saints, the judges. And we're going to be on top forever. It shall stand forever. So that's what's soon to come. And as it says, it's going to be at the hands of Yahweh. Right? When you read it, it says, "Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces." Right? So a random stone came and destroyed the iron and the clay, the Roman Empire, which that stone is symbolic for Yahushua. He's going to be the one that throws down the society. It says, "Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth." Right? So that stone that smote the image, okay, that stone be Yahushai, he became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Right? Mountains in the scriptures is symbolic for governments. Right? So he became a great government. And you can read that in Isaiah the second chapter. There's God's universal reign. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 1. "The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob." Right? He's the God of the Israelites. "And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Right? So what does that show you right there? It goes to show you that all these nations, they're going to have to come to Jerusalem to learn the law. Right? Because the difference is that these other nations are not going to be like the Israelites. Right? The Israelites, hey, we're going to have the law, statutes, and commandments inside of us. Right? We're going to be literally have new bodies, which are immortal, and have the law, statutes, and commandments inside of us. It's going to be programmed in our minds to know righteousness. Okay, you can go read that in Hebrews the 8th chapter towards the end. And in 1 Corinthians the 15th chapter, going into the immortality and the twinkling of an eye. It says, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So these other nations, all these military technologies that they have, all that is going to be destroyed, right? If they have swords, okay, they have spears, all that is going to be turned into farming tools, plowshares, pruning hooks, because they're going to be put to work, right? For 1,000 years, these nations are going to be in slavery under us. And after the 1,000 years, all these other nations, they're going to be able to do whatever they want as long as it's in righteousness. They're going to be able to live their lives, have their families, besides the Edomites. It says in Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18 that the entire race of Esau, Edom, is going to be wiped away. And that's just the truth. So right now we're in the last end, okay, of the Edomite Empire, okay, being aka America, right? In another place where it talks about these four kingdoms is in Zechariah chapter 1 and verse 18. It says, Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, four horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Now, when it's talking about horns, it's still talking about these four empires. Okay, it's just horns are symbolic for power. Okay, and these four empires were great powers. It says that these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Right under these captivities, Babylon, Persia, Greeks, the Romans, we were scattered, we were destroyed as a people. Okay, and here we are still in America, the last end of the Roman Empire, still being destroyed. But hey, ultimately, as the scriptures say in Revelation, the 11th chapter, Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, hey, at the end of days, in the Baruch, the 2nd chapter, in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. Right now, the great awakening is taking place. But like that point I said, the seven, or not the seven, the four horns. When you go into Daniel, the 7th chapter, right, we saw the same vision in Daniel, the 2nd chapter about the statue, but it was said differently, right? Daniel had another vision that was said differently. This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and a vision of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream, and he told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from the other. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings, right? And then it starts going into the great beasts. It starts describing them. But when it's describing these great beasts, hey, each beast is still talking about those four empires I was talking about. The first beast, first was like a lion, had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and may stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. This is talking about the Assyrian Babylonian Empire, right? Because first, it started with a lion with eagle's wings. Okay, that's talking about the griffin. Okay, it's talking about not that. It's talking about the griffin, bird. This is what it's talking about. This was the statue, or the or pretty much the, what's the word? This was the image, the bird of the Assyrians. Okay, it was the winged griffin, and that's what it was talking about in Daniel, the 7th chapter. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Okay, that griffin, the Assyrians. But then, the Babylonians, they merged with the Assyrians, and that's where you get, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Right? This is talking about, when the Babylonians came into power. Okay, because it was no longer the Assyrians, now it was the Babylonians, and it was at the hand of one man, Nebuchadnezzar. That's why it says he stood upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Because now Nebuchadnezzar, right, was in charge. First of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king of ancient Babylon during the period of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So that's a transition. And I've done a whole breakdown going into all this. I'm not going to do it right now. But the point is that it's talking about those four kingdoms. Babylon, Assyrian Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks, and the Romans. Right? And after the four beasts, right, What do you read? It says, after the four beasts, okay, and it actually breaks it down here. Um, because Daniel was asking, hey, what does it mean? He says, these great beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. That's exactly what we read in the second chapter of Daniel. Right? All these four beasts, they're gonna rule, but the saints, the Israelites of the Most High, shall take the kingdom and possess it forever. Okay? All of these kings are gonna be taken down by Yahweh Shai, and the saints are gonna rule. So I brought this out to bring out the fact of, hey, four great beasts. When we go back to Zechariah, okay, those four horns is talking about the same thing. So continuing, it says, and the Lord Yahweh showed me four carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter. Right? So same thing, right? Four horns, four carpenters, four beasts coming out of the sea, the statue. It's all talking about one thing, and soon to come, that fifth kingdom is gonna come, the everlasting one. So, one more scriptures at the end. This is what we're looking forward to. God will restore them. Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Right? So the Lord's gonna get a new time, something greater than ancient Egypt, Exodus. He says, but Yahweh liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, talking about North America, Babylon the Great, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, right? Because we've been scattered throughout the entire earth. That was part of the curses. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64, verse 36, both of them. It says, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Right? He is the one that's going to come save us and bring us back to Israel. Okay? To finally live there in peace, as it says in Isaiah chapter 2. So, I think the point has been established. Hopefully, this is edifying. With that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to your life. Shalom.